Okay guys, today I'm working on a 2011 Chevy Malibu. This is my wife's car, and I'm going to be replacing the O2 sensor, the upstream O2 sensor to be more specific. And I'm going to show you the steps needed to actually get to it and to change out the part. This is something that you can do yourself. It will take a little bit of time to do. But it's definitely something that you can save money in the process and go ahead and do it yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the very first thing we have to do is to unhook these hoses and to remove the panel that's above, that's right up on top of the engine. Once you do that, you'll have easier access to be able to actually get to the point to where you can start removing the O2 sensor. So one of the different things I like to do when I'm working on a car is I like to take pictures, remove a bolt, a nut, or remove something from the engine. Sometimes when you go to put it back, you can forget because you have so many different things that you've been doing, that you've been removing, replacing, that you can forget, okay, where did this nut or this bolt go? So I love to take detailed pictures before I remove anything from the car. That's a tip I've learned as being a software engineer. Before you make any settings, make any changes, take screenshots of what you are changing so that if you have to revert back, you can always go back and make the needed changes. So I'm applying that same process to the car. So I'm getting ready to take some pictures of the engine before I remove anything or change anything in the vehicle. All right, now you may be asking, how did I know to change the O2 sensors on my Chevy Malibu? Well, I received 2 error codes. I used my scanner, which I will put a link in my description area so you can see what type of scanner that you can use to get these codes. But I received 2 codes, a P0030 and a P0135. And both of these correspond to one for the upstream O2 sensor, I should say, and the other one was for the downstream O2 sensor. Okay, so this right here, that's the O2 sensor that needs to be replaced, but we have this heat shield here that, to make it easier to get to, there's a bolt here, there's a bolt right here on the side, and then there's another bolt over here. I'm going to remove this, and then that should give me easier access to be able to get to the sensor to remove it. Now, this can get really, really hot, so I would advise you to make sure that you try to make sure that it had significant time to cool off, and then you will have an easier, safer time trying to get to the O2 sensor to replace it. To remove the heat shield, you can use a 10mm socket or a wrench. With the heat shield now removed, you can use a 7/8 wrench and you can get behind the engine there and begin to take out the O2 sensor. Last thing we need to do is to unhook it from the wiring harness, remove the connection, and once you do that, you will successfully have removed the O2 sensor. I always like to check and encourage you to check to make sure that you have the right part before you go for it. One thing I want to show you is we have this compound that we want to put around the threads of the new O2 sensor before putting it in behind the engine back there. That way, if you try to remove it again, hopefully it won't get seized in there and be easier to take out. So it's very, very important that you put this on there. So I'm going to apply this around the threads of the O2 sensor. You don't want to get it on the sensor itself. We just want to get it on the threads there. And then I'm going to put it back in the same way I took it out. I'll screw it back in and then connect it via the clip to the wiring harness that's behind the engine as well. So you can see I applied my compound. This was actually provided when I bought the part. It came in the box. So depending on who you buy or where you buy it from,
Okay,
hopefully
the
it
new
will
O2
have it
sensor
as
is
well.
in place. It's got it connected to the harness. Safety clip is in place as well. And I have reattached the heat shield.
You can see that I was able to successfully install the upstream O2 sensor on my 2011 Chevy Malibu. It did take a little bit of work to get to it, but it wasn't that bad. And this is definitely something that you can do yourself. At the time of making this video, it was, well, I should say the cost of the part was only about $65. So that's considerably cheaper than what you would spend with having to, pay for part and labor if you had to take it to a shop. So just do a little bit of research, look at this video, look at some other videos, and you can definitely do this yourself. If there's some tips or something you think that I could have done differently, or maybe something to make it a little bit easier, I would love to hear from you in the comments section. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you can save a lot of money if you just do it yourself.